Come with me on another epic landscape photography adventure, and I'll show you how to nail your long exposures every time using ND filters. Let's get it.
My name's Johnny Spencer, Johnny J for short, and I'm a landscape and nature photographer for the National Parks Service here in Australia, who I've been working for over 24 years. I have a real passion for being out in nature with the camera, and I've decided that I want to share all that photography experience that I've learned over many years of trial and error with as many photographers as possible.
Well, welcome to the Blue Mountains. We're here. I am super excited to show you guys this place. But first things first, boots on. So let's do that, hit the trail. You can probably hear that noise in the background. It was way prominent before up the top. That's actually cicadas, and they're going off their chops. They're like a little insect about this big with wings, and I think that noise is, don't quote me, but I think it's where they beat their wings together. But anyway, it's crazy up there. It was almost deafening up near the car, and they're certainly out in force. And you know what that means? In Australia, that means summer is on its way. All right, let's keep going. Well, how good is this? What a spot. Let me fix you up there. That's better. How good is this? What a spot. Oh my God. Just beautiful. The yellow sandstone, epic big waterfall over there. Everything's lush and green. It's looking absolutely amazing here right now. All right, we've got overcast skies too, so everything's in shadow, which I think is going to work fine for this composition because those yellow rocks, they just pop, absolutely pop with all that green around them. So looking amazing. All right, let me get set up and I'll talk you through this composition. Hell yeah. All right, good people, we're set up here and I think I found my composition. It's looking pretty sweet and I'm stoked to show you. So let's jump over here and have a look. So we've got Mr. Waterfall out over here. We've got this beautiful greenery coming down through here, which is just absolutely beautiful. There is one little distracting element, which is this plant. You can see it's right on the edge there. It's probably a little bit annoying, but you know, it's something I can live with for sure. You can see also how high I've got my tripod. And this is why I love tripods that are way higher than, you know, your eye height. Because when you're in situations like this where I need to lift my tripod up high to get over the shrubbery that's in the front here, I can do it because my tripod's not limited to something I brought that was only up to my eye height. So hell yeah to that. Look, so compositionally, you can see we've got this beautiful greenery. We've got a beautiful rocks in there. We've got our little V and there's a little bit of light coming through there now. We're probably about 15 minutes away from sunset, so we're pretty much time to take the shot. We're in full shade, so not a high dynamic range scene. We're going to get everything in one exposure, which is all right in my books. Saves time in post-processing and also saves time in the field trying to capture it as well. But I think I want to go a little bit longer. I'm going to play around with the shutter speed for sure, I think here. So focus is going to be really easy. I'm just going to focus in a third about here somewhere. So let's just take a test shot now. I feel like somewhere around a third here. 2-second timer on, move your hands away, let's have a look. Yeah, everything's looking nice and sharp all the way from the foreground to the background, so focus point's good. F8 is good for depth of field. I'll just play that back, just make sure we haven't got no blinkies. You can see we've captured everything. If anything, I could probably push the exposure up a little bit more. So I want to add an ND filter, okay? I want to add an ND6 or an ND4, something like that, to lengthen out my shutter speed. So how do you know really fast what your exposure is going to be? Well, let's jump over on the back of the camera. I'll show you something real quick. You may know this, but if you don't, this is going to help you out. Every time with my camera, if I move the aperture from f8 and I go 1, 2, 3 to f11 now, So from my last exposure to f8 to f11, I'm closing the aperture down. I'm letting in one stop less of light, okay? One stop less. So if I go back to f8, let's go back to f8 here, okay? And then I go 3 clicks the other way, 1, 2, 3. So every one of those clicks is a third of a stop. And now I'm at 5.6, okay? So now I'm letting in a stop more of light, all right? So the shutter speed's the same. Okay, so let's put this on, say F11 or something. So if I was to get my shutter speed and move it 1, 2, 3, you can see it's doubled my shutter speed from 1/3 to 1/6. And now I'm letting in one stop less of light. Now, if I was to go back to a third, 1, 2, 3, now I'm added one stop more light onto my sensor, okay? So the ISO is similar. So the ISO, if we go up ISO here from 100 to 200, so that's 3 clicks, that's now letting in a stop more of light into the sensor, okay? So if I go back to that 100 here, which is half of the 200, 3 clicks as well, that's now letting in a stop less of light onto the sensor because the sensor isn't so sensitive from the higher ISO, you know. So every time I move my aperture wheel 3 clicks, that's adding, you know, depending on which way I'm going, adding or subtracting a stop of light, okay? And every time I double my shutter speed, that's subtracting a stop of light. And every time I halve my shutter speed, that's adding a stop of light. And the same with the ISO. So every time I double my ISO, it's adding a stop of light. And every time I halve my ISO, it's taking away a stop of light, okay? Once we understand that, it's really, really simple. Because all we need to do is we know we're gonna add a 4-stop ND, then I've just got to change one of the settings to add 4 stops of light back onto the sensor. So it's really, really simple. Don't need any calculations, don't need to work anything out. It's really, really basic. Let's go back to our F8. And let's get our shutter speed and the exposure right there. So I'm just going to take another test shot there. So F8, 1/6 of a second, and ISO 100. Let's play that back now. Checking the histogram, no clipping, everything's looking good there. So an ND8 is actually 3 stops. It's going to darken down my exposure. So if I just whack him on there, all right. And if we go back to our exposure, you can see everything's nice and dark now. So I know that I have to brighten up my scene to get the exact same exposure as I had before, and it is getting darker, mind you. I have to go up. I have to let 3 stops more light in. And usually how we're going to do it is we want to do it with shutter speed with a waterfall like this. So let's go up 3 stops. So 1, 2, 3, there's 1 stop, 1, 2, 3, there's 2 stops, 1, 2, 3, there is 3 stops. So if I now take that at 5 seconds, that should be a very similar exposure to when we set our exposure without that ND filter. And I don't have to worry, let's have a look. So let's have a look here. Let's have a look at the histogram. So that's the one we just took at 5 seconds. And there's the one we just took at a 1/6 of a second right behind it. And if you look at that histogram there, it's exactly the same. Exactly the same, no different. That exposure is exactly the same. We've just got a longer shutter speed, and you can see we're getting a nicer flow of water over there like that. I think that 5 seconds is absolutely beautiful. That waterfall is really starting to show up there now, which I just absolutely love. That's awesome. You can see quite easily, as easy as that, once you understand what the 3 settings of the exposure triangle are doing and how they're adding a stop of light, it's easy just to go, I'm going to add a stop more light back in because I've put a filter on that blocks 3 stops of light. I need to add 3 stops back somehow, you know, whether it's aperture, shutter speed, or ISO. Usually shutter speed, you know, for things like waterfalls and things like that. Particularly when we're shooting landscapes and we've got our aperture set. We usually want low ISOs to keep the images nice and clean. We usually got our aperture set for our depth of field. So it's usually that shutter speed we're moving back and forth. You may be looking at the exposure and thinking, Johnny, it's a little bit bright up to that left corner there, but don't worry, because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to expose to the right-hand side of my histogram. You've probably heard me say this before. The right-hand side of your histogram, particularly from the center all the way to the brighter highlights on the right side there, that's where you're going to get the most information out of your raw file. So super important to expose to the right where possible without blowing out those highlights. But no highlights issue here. We're getting everything in one shot because I've framed out that sky, and I'm really happy with this. All right, guys, I'm going to take a vertical at this now. So let's just flip her around, let's get our vertical shot done here. I'm just going to reframe it there. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Let's get our little vertical shot here. Absolutely loving that. Always try and get a landscape and vertical orientation. Let's go, 5 seconds there, hands away. So, you know, these longer exposures, you want a 2-second timer on, hands away, and we're easily gonna get our exposure there. And there's our beautiful water falling there at 5 seconds. And that is looking absolutely awesome. All right, so just for the fun of it, let's drop the 10 stop on. I'm gonna put that on. And now I need to add 10 stops of light. Now I'm probably gonna get limited by 30 seconds and I'd have to go to bulb mode, but let's see how we go here. So if I go 1, 2, 3, that's 1, 1, 2, 3, that's 2 stops, 1, 2, 3, is 3 stops, 1, 2, 3, is 4 stops, 1, 2, 3, is 5 stops. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to use a bit of ISO for those rest of those 5 stops, okay? So let's go to ISO now. So 1, 2, 3, there's 1, 1, 2, 3, is 2, 1, 2, 3, is 3, 1, 2, 3, is 4, 1, 2, 3, is 5. All right, so I basically got 5 stops in the shutter speed to about 30 seconds, and I got 5 stops in the ISO, which is about 3200. Now let's see how it goes here. I'll take my shot, 30 seconds, hands away. Let's see how we go. Let's see how we went. I'd say the exposure is gonna be pretty much spot on. If anything, it might be slightly under because it is getting a little bit darker now as well. So we're starting to lose a bit of that light. And 30 seconds takes ages. Cue the elevator music. It's really bad, Johnny. It's not that funny. It's not that funny anymore. I think I've used that joke before. Hey, that's okay. You get what you get, you don't get upset. So look at that. So beautiful exposure there. Let's go in and have a look. Oh yeah, looking good. So you can see, let's have a look at the histogram. Let's go through, look at the histogram there. Perfect. It's in the exact same spot as the histogram with the other ones. Like if I go back and show you the other ones, it's almost identical. So just by doing that calculations, knowing that every time I click the wheel, my shutter speed is 1/3 of a stop. So 3 of those equals 1 stop. And I just went up 5 stops in shutter speed, 5 stops in ISO, and I know that's going to allow enough light coming in to my sensor to compensate for that 10 stop filter. And far out, man, it's as easy as that. As easy as that. All right, good people, that's it for the field work. Let's jump back over to the computer and I'll show you how I put this one together, and we'll compare those 3 different exposures with the different NDs.
All right, good people, I'm going to ask for your help. If you've not subscribed to the channel yet, please do. It's free. It's just like following on other social media networks, and it really, really helps me to achieve my goal of getting the word out to more and more photographers about my videos so that I can help them on their photography journey. So subscribing, liking, comment, all those things are free. They support the channel, and that really, really helps me, and I really do appreciate it. All right, let's jump over to Lightroom. All right, here we are in Lightroom. You won't believe it. Just after I turned the camera off, about 5 minutes I was packing up, and we ended up getting some beautiful afterglow there of light. And you can see this is the final photograph. It was actually a blend of this one for the sky and this one for the rest of the scene, and you can see it turned out really, really nicely. Love the magenta tones. It actually come to life. So this is really my favorite shot. But what we're here to do is really is compare these 3 different exposures here. So you can see here's the 1/6 of a second without the ND. This is with the 3 stop, 5 seconds, and this is with the 10 stop. I did move around because I went to that portrait orientation. So even though the shots move, you can see the histogram is exactly the same pretty much between the 3. If you look up here on the right hand side, watch that histogram. So that's a 1/6 of a second, that's a 1/5 of a second, and that one is 30 seconds. So you can see there, just by doing those calculations, super easy to work out exactly how many extra stops of light you need to bring in to compensate for those filters. And these haven't been edited, by the way. These are just the raw files straight out of camera. So that's why they haven't got any pop or anything like that. But anyway, look, here's the final photograph that we managed to get. Absolutely love it. It's a cracker there. It's a blend of 2, as I said, for the sky and the foreground. And I just love the waterfall. We ended up going with no NDs for this one. But look, I think that's That's brilliant. I really love how that photo's come out. I love that light, and particularly the cloud we got late after sunset. It was just absolutely epic. So cool. All right, good people, you can see how easy it is to add that ND filter and nail your exposure every time. And if you've got any comments, questions, or feedback, please pop them below. And as always, give me a thumbs up and a like. It really helps Google share my videos out to other photographers, and also helps me with my goal of helping as many photographers as possible on their photo journey. And if you really enjoyed this video, check out this one here. You're gonna really love that as well. Another fun landscape and nature photography photo adventure. And as always, stay inspired, keep creating, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.